need water. All right, vamp for me when it starts.
Okay. I was just now told, quote, vamp for me. So
just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh.
We're fine.
Okay.
We're fine.
We're fine.
Because also this is on a delay, so like.
It is on a delay.
Which is wild. I don't know if anyone's watching, but like it doesn't really matter.
Well, it looks like there's at least one comment.
Great. So we're gonna
just
not look at the delay
because
that's
that'd be so
me
distracting the whole time.
So I'm gonna do a quick tweet to let people know that this is going on now.
Heck yeah.
And then we'll start. And if you're doing it, if you're watching, and great.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you'll just have to watch
goes.
the recording later. So quickly, just like this.
We're getting a live behind the scenes look of Jadzia Axelrod
happening
operating
now.
her
I
Twitter
know,
account.
isn't this fascinating?
This is
so
the fans
great.
will not be able to get enough. Truly.
Fans. I do have fans now.
That's what you do.
It's weird. It's a weird thing. I'm not used to it yet. I hope I never get used to it, honestly, because that would be weird. So, I don't know if anyone's let's take a peek. Anyone watching? Doesn't look like it. That's fine. Maybe the software is malfunctioning. There's actually lots of people watching, which would be amazing. And I won't find out till later.
I know at least one of my partners will be tuning in, so we got that.
Not all of your partners?
I don't know. One of them's probably still asleep.
I brought you in as a member of the polyamorous community because I was like, at the very least, all of CJ's partners will watch.
Now hold on. I simply must counter. When we started doing these hot ones, I was in a monogamous relationship.
Well, true.
So that's not why I was brought in.
That is not why you were brought in. You were brought in because you're delightful, and I love seeing you and doing things with you. And so I will use any excuse, any and all of them, to hang out with you, including let's eat chicken or fake chicken on live stream. Indeed.
It's so funny the timing of this because like I feel like just like a very small handful of weeks prior I think I was watching a Hot Ones with Travis and Lyndon and all, and I was like, we had like some really good hot sauces when I was doing the Hot Ones with Jadzia. Gosh, she should reach another milestone in her Twitter followers so that I can eat hot sauce with her again.
Happened.
And then you messaged me and I was like, I am manifesting. I'm out here manifesting.
It's amazing. So a lot of people started following me because of the Hot Girl announcement.
Yes.
Hawk Girl.
Hawk.
Everyone, when I tell people this, because of like my way of speaking or merely the words themselves, think I'm saying Hot Girl.
It does sometimes sound like Hot Girl, and I have to like correct my brain that you're not.
But it is
like
about a
like
girl who is a hawk, not a girl who is hot.
Indeed. I mean,
though she is hot. Shout out to Mankai, who's making the hottest hot girl I've seen on the page. So, thank you, sir.
Hell yeah.
But let's go ahead and get started.
Wahoo!
And then do this. So, I believe we start with the first sauce, which is at a 0 heat level. This is Seed Ranch Umami Everyday Sauce.
It's less of a hot sauce and more of just like a fun, cute little treat.
I know, but I like to start with the baseline, right?
Yes.
If we're starting with heat, then that feels like it's...
Yeah. Plus, I do like the sauce. Like,
well, that's the other thing.
We always have it as the baseline, so like it's always good.
Yeah, well, all of these sauces are good. Yeah. I don't have shitty sauces on here.
Indeed.
Nothing is here that is just painful, which I know some people like in their life, and maybe they should reconsider their choices.
Indeed.
So, first wing.
And a fake chicken nugget. I'm a vegetarian, so I get the fake nuggies.
I do like that.
Just as good as I remember. All right. First question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite character dynamic to roleplay between player characters when you're playing a TTRPG with friends?
I like how this question is set up because it starts to sound like a sex question. And then it's like,
does.
no.
It does. Like,
no. We're all nerds here.
Dynamic.
This is a role-playing question in the tabletop variety, not in the sexy way.
It doesn't help that nerds just generally tend to be horny.
Well, that's true. Like, it goes all the ways.
Indeed.
But favorite character dynamic. I tend to play, and this is something I'm actually trying to work out of, but my default is always to play like a cartoon. In the old cartoons, like we're talking like in the 40s, there was always this archetype of this like cartoon character who talked in a Bowery Boys accent and had like a stub of a cigar in their mouth all the time, and maybe a little bowler hat. And I love that character, and I love playing that character, and frequently are like this like weird animal sidekick to someone else who's doing heroic things or not heroic things. But it's like I like to play this like wiseacre commentating on what's going on and helping or not helping depending on the character.
Sure.
But like not being the primary person, and that's a very safe way to play, and like trying to get out of that and play more characters who are more active and less like, look at that, stinks to be you. But I do like playing that archetype, and I love a character with a stub of a cigar in their mouth and a chip on their shoulder, and so that's where my heart always goes. But I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to do characters that aren't that. In addition to all the things we talked about, like a lot of those characters are male, and like when I played them, they were male,
right?
And like post transition, I'm like, I should probably be not playing male characters. I have a freedom not to do that anymore, so I should stop. And that character can be a woman, and I've certainly even written that character as a woman.
Right.
Shout out to the Fables of the Flying City fans who remember Hannah Gatling, who was absolutely that kind of character. She had a pipe instead of a cigar because it was steampunk. But
so important to stick
right,
with.
And so that character can be female, but more often is not, and so I'm trying to step away from it. So that's my default, and I should quit it, is I guess my answer.
I mean, if it helps you to quit it, then, or if you want to explore new avenues.
It's just not an active character.
Indeed.
And like, that's fine, because I normally play with my wife, who loves playing active characters, so part of that is like, I'll let her do the active for me, and like, that's not, again, the best thing. Like, I should be in charge of my own experience and doing things. Yeah. So I'm trying to move away from that. It is hard because I am a people pleaser, right? And I'm like, well, what do I need to bring to the group? And those kind of characters are great because they can pull something out of their ass and be like, oh, I was a doctor the whole time, or whatever. And it doesn't seem incongruous because those characters are just so broad anyway. To reveal a hidden depth that the party needs is useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a very long answer to a simple question. I could have just said bard. I don't really play D&D, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty darn knowledgeable about D&D, and then people will be like, oh, do you play? And I'm like, ha.
It's not my...
What time?
That, and it's like there's better game systems for the stuff I like to play.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the middle of a game right now that's like, Fate.
Yes.
Fate. And Fate is like... with words that D&D is with numbers, which is perfect for my mindset, right? Like the storyteller is like, rather than write down a number stat, I will instead write a short sentence that describes what my character does, and that's easier for me to play. And that's great. And I'm not playing a cigar chomping supporting character in that. I'm playing a hero who's also a goblin because I have to do things differently than everyone else.
Hell yeah. All right, shall we to the
next let's move on.
We've got the Grand Ole Nashville.
This is a gift from my brother back when he lived in Nashville.
Exciting.
So, an old sauce, but it's still good, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. It's fine. It's smoky.
Hell yeah.
Oh.
It's like, all right, then I'll go through the process of opening it again. Whoa. That got away from me a bit. That's okay.
That's fine.
That'll be for later, CJ.
Well, I think that's, again, like, we're being unpolished here. This is real.
The
people
is
are getting
life.
realness.
Yeah.
I like that smokiness.
Yeah. There might be at least one word in here that I will struggle to pronounce.
That's fine.
Just heads up. Including...
That's Shayera.
Shayera, thank you.
Not Shayera, which is something different. Unless I'm getting the pronunciations confused.
Indeed.
We're going to go into Hawk lore with this question.
Yes.
Because I feel like we have to address it. And, like, that's why it's number 2.
Indeed. So we'll get into it. So, Shayera or Kendra, I am actually a bit saddened that the Thanagarian
You got it.
version of Hawk Girl / Hawk Woman got more or less erased by the mess the Hawkman community became. I still think that the DCAU version of Hawk Girl is one of the best versions of the character. What do you think?
Right. So, there's a lot in that.
Indeed. I like the distinction between Hawk Girl / Hawk Woman. Being somebody who's not as familiar with this particular character, I like to imagine like a bat mitzvah between those two.
Right. When Kendra gets her bat mitzvah, she will stop being a Hawk Girl and start being a Hawk Woman.
Yes.
Her Hawk mitzvah.
Good.
Yeah. Right. So, a little background for people watching who don't know any of this.
So for me,
the Hawk characters have been incredibly messed with as far as retcons have happened. Because here's the thing. Hawkman started in the Golden Age in the 30s and 40s.
Yes.
Where it was still cool to have a character who just flew. Right? Like, that's still... I feel like that's awesome on its face, right?
Yeah,
Flying's great. And especially in the 40s, where most characters did not. And then, as you get more and more superheroes fly as a default. And so then Hawkman, who just flies, doesn't really have a lot in that way, right? But he is a core DC character, right? Like, he was very popular in the 40s. Still beloved by many people. So, creators in the past, I don't even know when this started, probably in the Silver Age. I've done a lot of Hawk Girl research, but I've not dug a whole Hawkman research, so I don't know when this exactly started. I believe the Silver Age. So the past 60 years have been like, well, all we have to do is just tweak Hawkman a little bit, and then he will be more relevant to modern audiences, and people will love him just as much as they used to. And this keeps happening. And whether these tweaks are good or bad is not the point. The point is that it just keeps happening, and retcons on top of retcons on top of retcons. And so you have things like there are multiple people who held the name Hawk Girl, but not necessarily in the same way that multiple people have had the name Robin.
Right.
Where there's a clear line of succession there. It's a lot more loosey-goosey, a lot more messy. So, one person who was Hawk Girl and is now Hawk Woman is Shayera, which is the same name, basically, as the Hawk Girl who was on the Justice League animated series from 20 years ago, which, whenever I think about that, I feel very old. But it was 20 years ago, and I've rewatched some of the episodes, and it's wonderful, but it's also like, this would be different if it was made today for so many reasons that we won't go into. Right, so Shayera is a Hawk Girl. She is now referred to as Hawk Woman in the comics, and that was a title she earned back in the 80s. So, like, it's not a recent thing. And Hawk Girl, Kendra Saunders, who I'm writing, came around in 1999. So after we've established that Shayera is Hawk Woman, we have a new Hawk Girl. she has her own issues with continuity and retcons and all that stuff. But we're talking about this. So one of them is similar visually to the character who's on the cartoon show, but not really character-wise. There's a lot of differences, and we don't have to go into that, and we won't, thankfully.
Okay.
But that she has a lot of fan following, in part because it's bleed over from the cartoon show, in part because she's been around for a very long time, in part because the stories that she's been in are great. Like the Hawkworld miniseries is wonderful, but but I do like Kendra better, not just because I'm writing her, though. Like that's part of it for sure. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Part of it is I like Kendra better, but also like Shire's a cop. Like she's a police officer, either on Thanagar or she's like a ruler of Thanagar, and Thanagar is not a cool place. Like there are a bunch of assholes over there, and they're proud of that. Like that's something they cultivate. So I don't like her in that way, but then again, I'm not supposed to like her. She serves different parts in the story.
Right.
I mean, I guess you are supposed to like her. What I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with the character. If I have to choose between the two, I will pick Kendra over and over again, because Kendra is more fun for me to read and more fun for me to write, assuredly.
Yeah.
Also, Kendra has a better costume. I'll just say it.
Very important.
I've got my crop top on in honor of Kendra, even though it is a Supergirl shirt. But like that's a great look.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense to have that kind of coverage if you are flying. So it's a great costume. It's a great character. I love Kendra, and you will see in the Hawkgirl miniseries how much I love her, because it's all about her. And yeah, and Shire is also a great character, but she's not anywhere near my favorite in the same way that Kendra is. Mainly because she's a cop.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, but also, like, you know, she's, she has a very particular personality, a cop-like personality, one might even say, that works fine for stories, but doesn't really work for me. And also, again, she's been written a bazillion ways, a bazillion different times. I'm sure someone can pull up a Shire story that is like, how is this cop like? And I was like, all right, well, in that story, she wasn't.
Yeah.
But, like, the feeling we have of the character now is very based on the Hawkworld miniseries and then developments since then. I love a redhead character. That's always been true about me, but I do think between the two, I'm going to go with Kendra.
Heck yeah. I've been introducing my partner Travis to Columbo recently, and I am constantly coming up against the, like, I love Columbo. He is a cop.
He is a cop.
He is a cop.
But he's also great.
Yeah. It's like, he's a cop, but first and foremost, he's Peter Falk.
Right. Yeah, I mean... It's propaganda is rough.
Yeah, it's like, it's a little fantasy world they create wherein cops do their job and bring the right people to justice, which is not what has happened at all.
Describing Columbo as a fantasy series actually nails it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is extremely a fantasy series that any police officer would even bother with the amount of investigation that man does. Because they don't.
We don't.
At all.
No.
Shall we go to the third?
Yeah.
Bull City Pepper, Good Gracious Green.
This is a gift from my sister.
Hell yeah, I do love a green.
At Christmas, I always say, if you want to get me the best Christmas present, you can just get me hot sauces that are made in your area where you live. Because my sister lives in North Carolina, and my brother used to live in Nashville and now lives in Los Angeles. All three of those are prime hot sauce locations. And
they did it on purpose.
And so every Christmas, it's a wonderful bounty.
Excellent. Good.
And I delight in it. So thank you, Kate and Joel.
Oh, yeah.
That one has a lingering heat.
Yeah.
which
But
I really
the
like.
flavor is like everything I love about a green.
Yeah.
Do you like to work in a quiet place, chaotic place, alone, or with music? And if it's with music, does it change if you're writing or drawing?
I like to work in this place we're in right now. This is actually my office. It is also my house's foyer. And the reason I like working here, and it's the same reason why we're filming in here, is because it's got the best light. I'm a sunflower. I need natural light. And so working in this spot that we're two of the walls are windows.
Yeah, the two walls you're not seeing right now are windows.
And it's great. So this is the space I work in. It's also the space where I take my today's style and selfie pictures. So if you've seen those, you have seen my workspace.
Yeah, you've seen right about over there.
Know that there's just a desk here facing the windows. I write to music, and I usually pick an album when I start a new project that'll be like, this is the album of the book as far as the mood. And then as I write, I usually add more albums onto that as the themes and characters become more prevalent. So with Galaxy the Prettiest Star, the album that kind of dominated my writing process, was a... now I'm forgetting it. I'm going to pull it up.
In the meantime. My girlfriend Angie said, "Thank you for finding a way to save my Columbo love." Aww. Absolutely, babe, you got it. Also, we need to watch Columbo. That'll be my goal of 2023.
When do
Every partner watches Columbo.
When do I get to watch Columbo with you? Because that sounds like a great time.
I mean, just knowing my schedule, probably May. I have been banned from working on projects in May. So,
yeah. All right. Great.
So I'll have a little bit more free time.
Me too. So
perfect.
In May, we should watch Columbo.
May is when we watch Columbo. I love it.
Oh, delightful.
Yes.
The Galaxy Prettiest Star album became The Execution of All Things by Relo Kiley, which is a great album that has a lot of young person angst.
Yeah.
I feel isolated from my friends, but also the world. And no one understands me. And it also has that great song, A Better Son/Daughter, which is not specifically a trans song. It is a song about mental illness and dysfunction and all that stuff.
Right.
But if you squint, it feels very trans related. So that's that. I don't even remember which album I started with. Oh, it was the Against Me album. Mm-hmm. Transgender folk. No, that's a song. But the one after the big trans album from Against Me.
Right,
that's the one.
The one.
You know it.
Yeah.
If you're watching this, you know that album.
With your attitude.
Here, I'll look it up just because it's annoying me now.
I bet $10 that if Travis is watching this,
Travis,
she is screaming at the screen right now, it's this one. But I don't know that.
I love it. And obviously also David Bowie and Aladdin Sane, which is a huge part of Galaxy the Prettiest Star.
Indeed, as you reference Bowie at least in that.
Yeah. I have so many Against Me albums. The one I'm talking about is you look it up.
You know it. You and your
It's the one with the boob on the cover.
Yeah.
You know it.
You know the one.
Come on. So that was what started, and then it turned into the Relo Kiley, which I think felt the mood better. Similarly, Hot Girl started with Apocalyptica's Metallica cover album. So it's Metallica songs, but it's done with a quartet of cellos. I don't know if you guys
tasty.
It's great. It's very good writing music because I like songs that either have no music or songs I've heard a million times, so I'm not listening to the lyrics.
Yes.
Songs that have no music. Songs that have no lyrics. Or even songs that I don't hear the lyrics anymore. Because if I am listening to lyrics, I will listen to lyrics instead of writing.
Yes.
So that's what it's becoming. But I've been listening to the new singles from the New Boy Genius record, and those are fitting into the themes of the book really well. So that's probably going to dominate it as I keep writing. And it comes out in a week, so we'll see. But half that, it's weird too because of the way comics are done, like issue 1 through 3 is already written, and that's like pure apocalyptica.
Right.
And then 4, 5, and 6 are going to feel a little differently, as they should, because we're winding up to the 6th climax. So, building, not winding. You're building to the climax.
Yes.
So those are the albums that motivate the music, and there's other stuff that I throw in as happens, but like those are the dominant sonic things, and I like to have music while I write. I used to think that I liked having just noise, and I would like write in public, and like a coffee shop would be perfect because there was just bustle, and that was great. Yeah. And I had to force myself to focus. But now it's like I don't need noise; I just need music. I need to be listening to something, and then I can focus. So, yeah, that's a long answer to a very simple question.
This is an interview. You're allowed, and it's an interview of you. Take up the space. The space is for you, and you created it. Yes.
Oh.
It literally is.
I guess so.
We're in your home.
Yeah.
Eating your hot sauces.
I do love them. All right. So let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Before you embarrass me further with compliments. So this is a hot sauce, Calibria. This is by Clark and Hopkins. This is a really good hot sauce with eggs.
Ooh, it's a chunky one.
It's got a ketchupy consistency, but it's not sweet like that.
Put it over there.
Cheers.
There it is. Okay, I was like, I don't know. I would have switched it with the green, but
nope.
It takes a while.
It's a slow burn.
Okay. I'm assuming you've done your research on Kendra / Hawk Girl.
I have.
Yes. In terms of the various Hawkman and JSA titles and Hawk Girl's appearances in other media, cartoons, the CW shows, what drew you to the character, and what do you hope people will get from the new series?
I've talked about this a bit, I don't know, whenever anyone asks, really, is I love her because she's a broad. Like, she is a woman who speaks her mind and is just a very much, like, in-your-face, shut-up old man character. And she was brought in to be that because she was brought into the Justice Society of America team, which is mainly characters from the Golden Age or their sidekicks who have grown up a little bit. Like, that's the cast. So it's like old men and slightly younger men and women who idolize these old men, right? And so Kendra was brought in with a few other younger characters to be like, yeah, whatever, you don't know anything. And I enjoy that series quite a lot. Jeff Johns gets a lot of flack for a lot of reasons. We're not going to talk about them because the Justice Society comic, I've been rereading, it's still solid. Like, for what it is, it's great. Like, it moves at a good pace. There's a great vibe of, like, superheroes hanging out, which is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, and I just loved Hawk Girl from the moment I read her in that book years ago, because she's just different than everyone else who has kind of either this, again, adoration of the older characters, or in the case of people like Black Adam, who was part of the team for a while, like a genuine animosity. Yeah. Right? Whereas Kendra is like, I'm here to be part of this team. I'm part of the group. But don't tell me what to do just because you're older than me. Tell me what to do because you have a good idea.
Right. Tasty.
Right? Yeah. It's a great character in that way. And she doesn't always fill that role in every team. She filled that role in that team, and that's where I fell in love with her. But she's always had that defiant spark of like, fuck you, you don't know. I don't have to listen to you. I know the right thing to do. And I've always liked that. And like, that's sort of softened in some portrayals of her. Certainly when she's on a team like the Justice League, there was less time to kind of get into that. But I've always liked that about her. And so that's one of my, that sort of rebellious attitude that, like, I know what the right thing to do is. I don't need you to tell me, is great. And so I love her. Also, costume is amazing from jump. One of the great things is, like, I asked the editor when I got this, is if, like, can we change the costume any? And they were like, no, you can't change the costume. And I was like, can we move it back a little closer to the original costume? Because the one she's had relatively recently is, like, very overdone. Mm-hmm. And, like, there's arm armor and, like, gauntlets and, like, hip pouches and all this stuff. Yeah. And, like, can we streamline it? And that was fine. And Amankai did an amazing job, like, giving me exactly what I wanted. She's no longer wearing high heels, which she hasn't in a while, but, like, for a long time she had high heel boots, which makes no sense with a flying character. How do you land in those things?
Yeah.
But it's just, like, I didn't want to change the costume completely because it's beautiful. I did want to move it a little bit back to the classic version of it because it's great.
Yeah.
And I was happy we got to.
Yay. Next sauce?
Next sauce.
I don't know that I've had this one yet.
You may not have. This was a gift from my wife. This is Hank Sauce Camouflage Hot Sauce.
Camouflage.
You will probably like it. It is not too spicy, but it has a lot of flavor. As you can tell, that's a huge bottle, and we've almost emptied it.
Yeah,
it's like common use in this house.
Y'all love this one. Yeah. That tastes great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is really good. How would you describe the character of Kendra to people who are unfamiliar with her? Explain Kendra to me.
Yeah, okay, sure. Kendra is a hawk person.
All right.
She has wings, and she can fly. She is the latest incarnation of a series of reincarnated heroes dating back millions, if not billions of lives on millions, if not billions of planets. And she is the latest of this identity of a superhero, just a hero in general, even in that, who is fighting the good fight, and she is the latest member of that. Where things get a little complex.
Sure.
Is that in a recent Justice League story, the universe was broken by a bad guy. We don't have to get into that. But just know that the universe was broken. And so what happened
Jeff
was...
Bezos.
May have been. Who knows?
Just saying.
I mean, Lex Luthor helped. And, like, if there ever was a real life Lex Luthor, Bezos is pretty close.
Yeah.
But anyway, the universe was broken, and so Kendra and the previous incarnation, Shaira, existed in the same time. So they got to meet each other and all that stuff. This is only important because in a recent Hawkman series, Hawkman and Shaira finally did all the things that they were supposed to, saved enough lives that they no longer have to be reincarnated again.
Oh.
So that their role is done. They have moved on to a higher plane. Things are great for those two. Specifically, right? So then that raises the question, what does this mean for someone who has finally, after a long time, accepted their role as, I'm the next in line of this great legacy. I will be carrying it on because we are all carrying it on. This is part of my identity, and I admit that, and I have memories of all of the people who came before me. What does that mean when all of a sudden you suddenly experience the memory of someone having an incredible cathartic experience of finally succeeding at the struggle that you thought yourself a part of, and you don't get to experience that, but you remember it, and then it's like, well, what does that mean for you now?
Right.
So she is the last of the Hawk woman incarnation line, but she is no longer part of that line. Like, it ended right before her. So she is a fluke in the universe. And, like, where does that put her now? How does she define herself now? And especially, so that's the quick version.
Yes.
But also, what makes this super interesting and what I'm taking is the subtext of this, because with the exception of a series in the early 2000s that was really about Hawkman, she hasn't really had her own series, so she hasn't had a spotlight. She's been a part of teams. She's been a part of Hawkman's book, but she hasn't really had a focus. So she doesn't have, like, her own supporting cast.
Right.
She doesn't have her own villains. She doesn't have, like, there was an attempt in that series before to, like, give her that, but then it just kind of kept twisting into more Hawkman stories. And so she was facing, like, Hawkman villains, and there were characters who were her friend because of Hawkman. And so it never quite, like, sung. And so, like, to take that subtext of, like, well, we've never seen her life outside of superheroing, and to make it text is like, maybe she doesn't have a life outside of superheroing. Maybe she just is Hawkgirl most of the time, and, like, has slowly whittled away the rest of her life so that that's all she has. And then when that is not necessarily taken away, she's still Hawkgirl, she's still a superhero, but now doesn't have the meaning that it used to.
Right.
What does that leave for her? And that's where we start the story. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I got it. She's a furry who old daughter Deuteronomy allowed to have a new life.
Kinda, yeah.
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 Cool. I'm glad we got that.
Sort of.
My phone keeps vibrating, so I'm going to tell it to not.
Thanks.
You stop!
I haven't seen I saw the Broadway show Cats, like, years ago.
Right.
So I know what you're saying, but, like, I also don't know what you're saying.
There's a important cat who tells
I know, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you're saying makes sense, but also it's like, what are you talking about?
I just saw Cats live for the first time last week.
Nice. How was that experience?
It was great, and I don't think that doing that will provide you any new information.
I mean, I've seen it. Like I said, I just haven't seen the film, which is slightly different.
Slightly, yes.
Because, like, I mean, there's no plot whatsoever in Cats, the musical. There's an attempt at a plot in Cats, the movie.
There sure is.
And, like, that is... I know that, and we've talked about it.
Yes.
But, like, again, we're talking about Cats when we should be talking about Hawks.
Yes.
Essentially, Kendra is someone who's, like, the latest in a line of heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And she was told, essentially, you don't have to be a hero anymore. And then she's like, but this is all I have. And I'm good at it. And, like, I should be a hero, but what does that mean when I'm not this particular type of person anymore? Yep. I was talking to the editor. I was like, this is a very queer story. Even though, like, Kendra is not queer. I want to put that out. She's very straight. She has a history of heterosexual relationships, and she is not bi in this series, but it is a queer story. And, like, it's great that we have queer supporting characters like Galaxy and her girlfriend and all this stuff to, like, mirror Kendra's experience, because it was funny reading the situation that she's now in. It's like, this is very gay. Like, all of a sudden you don't know how your own history relates to who you are now, but at the same time, like, it's there. It's very gay, very trans. Of course, naturally, I latched onto it.
Yes.
When they offered. But yeah, I hope that helps to anyone who is not familiar with this character. I hope it was not too confusing. Essentially, she's just the latest in Hawk Girls. She's the latest Hawk Girl. The previous Hawk Girl solved everything, and now she's like, what do I do?
Overachievers. Shall we move on?
Yes.
No, I haven't tried this one either, I don't think.
No, this is relatively
of course
new.
I've tried Old Bay, and I've tried hot sauces. Y'all have seen this.
But you have not tried the Old Bay
hot sauce. The Old Bay hot sauce.
That I'm
aware of.
This was given to me at a convention.
Okay.
Yeah. By someone who was a friend, also a fan. But they were a friend before they were a fan. So...
Right.
If any fans want to just give me hot sauces at convention, as long as they are hermetically sealed, I will take them.
And not poisoned.
I don't want any poisoned hot sauces, please.
Big ask, but... Alright.
It's great, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm always the person putting Old Bay on, like, Wawa mac and cheese, so... Alright.
We're starting to get into the hotter sauces.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like, a huge drop into heat
that's
about to happen. I've been actually, like, in my collection of, like, I've had too many super hot sauces. I need to get some milder ones in my personal hot sauce retinue. So we've been, like, slowly climbing. And then after this, we're going to shoot up to some very hot sauces.
So I think I would have put the Old Bay on the milder end.
Maybe, yeah. I was like, it's very close, right? Yeah, it's like,
it's
the past
sure,
three are, like, I was like, maybe this one, maybe that one, maybe...
Yeah. I might scooch the green slightly higher up.
Yeah, maybe, maybe move the camouflage sauce down. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's
in
a
any
tough
case,
call. We didn't really have a middle area, so we have a lot of, like, there's 3 or 4 that are about the same heat level.
Yeah.
We just kind of
lump
together.
Can you juggle?
Oh! Can I ever? This is great because, like, I allude to my circus history a lot online, and I don't think people think I'm being serious. I think they think it's a metaphor or something.
No, literal circus.
But, like, I used to be a circus performer. I was part of 3 separate circuses. One as a juggler and the other 2 as a sideshow performer. So I definitely can juggle. And I love juggling. And mainly just now juggle for my daughter, who asks for Mama Circus performances.
That's so great.
Isn't that sweet? She used to do that when she was very small and, like, only could say a few words, so she would just go, Mama Circus, in her little tiny voice.
Yes. Aww.
And now she says in whole sentences, can you do Mama Circus, please? So yeah, I can juggle. I also did human pincushion. I did escape art. I did, I had a Tesla coil that would electrocute me on stage in one of the performances. I did, I ate crickets. I feel like I did other things. I had a straitjacket that I got out of. We had one act where people, would tie me to a chair, and I had to get out of it in less time than it took them to tie me into it. Which usually meant great, because they would take very little time to do it, right? And that was easy to get out of, because they didn't have a lot of time. But one guy, like, took his time, and I'm a good stage vamper, but even I was losing the audience at that point, and thankfully I got out of it very quickly, so he looked like a fool.
Good.
But yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I also used to stick needles in my hands and face. And then I would open one of the circuses with a thing where I would tell people it wasn't a magic show.
Oh, I love this.
Right? And so I would hand out cards. I would ask someone to come up on stage, and I would hand them I had a deck of cards I would hand out and said, like, take a card. And they would take a card. And I was like, all right, memorize that card, put it back in the deck. And then I would shuffle it. And then I would take a card out and staple it to my forehead. And then say, is that your card? And it never was. It never was. And they, of course, would be like, no, that's not my card. And I was like, yeah, it's not a magic show. And then I would take the card off, and then be staple wounds, and everyone would be like, It was great. One time I bled so much on stage that a friend of mine who was in the audience, like, confessed they had nightmares for 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't mean to. Like, that wasn't part of the act, even. Like,
yeah.
Sometimes, like, I was using a different type of needle than I had normally, and so, like, it was a hollow needle, so like a faucet.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, that was part of my circus history. My wife was also part of that. She used to be a contortionist and would sit on the bed of nails.
Wow.
Before we were married. But yeah, I do juggle. I do other circus stuff. I tried to do more of it here in Philadelphia after I moved, and it was just really hard. And like I even got like I was part of a larger show, and I was like, excellent, let's do this. I'm excited. I don't have to do any of the like stuff you have to do to make a show happen. You know all this.
Yes.
It's a lot of stuff, and I was like, great. I'm so glad to be part of another show, and they'll do that. And then that was canceled, and I was like, I feel like this is the universe telling me, Jadzia, don't do circus stuff in Philadelphia. So I kind of stopped.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of circus school and like education, like circus education opportunities in Philly nowadays, but less like circus performance and presentation.
Right, and the performance aspects are often because there are the circus schools. It's like circus, right? So it's like trapeze stuff and silk climbing and like capital C circus. It's not someone hurting themselves in front of you.
Right. Yes.
Like it's not sideshow stuff. That is not the circus culture in Philadelphia.
Right.
It is a little more highfalutin, and that's great.
Literally highfalutin.
Right? Yeah, literally. So like there is the circus performances, but it's much more than I was doing at the time. And I love going to watch it. But like trying to get like a sideshow performance going here as opposed to in North Carolina where I did perform with 3 different circuses is hard.
Yeah.
But yes, I have a history. I'm a former circus performer. I'm not a trapeze artist. I tried. I learned. They tried to teach me, and I was not good at it. It's just like, hey, you got to have a certain mindset for trapeze.
Yes.
Which I do not have. But I do have the mindset for getting out of straitjackets, which again, not everyone can do.
Yeah, I can't.
I can show you how.
Well, great.
If you ever want to.
Granted, I have not been in a straitjacket, so like maybe I have a secret talent for it, but I severely doubt it.
It's a combination of brute force and flexibility.
Yes.
I know you're flexible. We'll have to work on your brute force.
Yeah. I don't got a whole lot of that. Shall we to the next sauce, which I'm very excited about. Because
this one is great. This is like your favorite.
Yeah,
it's many people's favorite.
Well, it's got so many things I like because pineapple is my favorite fruit, and I'm a hoe for ginger. And this is pineapple, lemongrass, and ginger.
What more do you need?
What more do you need?
Get some of that on there. Also a thick boy.
Yes.
I found this one at the beach.
Yeah.
All the great things are on the beach.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm such a sucker for those little beach hot sauce shops. Because, like, I always go in and, like, yeah, I've seen all this. Show me your dark corners.
It's the Parks and Rec thing where he's like, I know more than you.
Right, okay. Yeah. Me in a hot sauce shop is exactly the same as Ron Swanson at Home Depot.
Yes. All right.
So good. That's got a serious hit to it, but it's got so many other flavors that it's fine.
Over the years, Hawk Girl has started friendships. From Stargirl back in the JSA days to Nubia and Naomi in recent titles. What has been your favorite previous Hawk Girl super friends?
Oh, I mean, they nailed it with Stargirl. I love Kendra and Courtney together. I liked it because they had this nice teenage girl friendship. Mm-hmm. That wasn't based on like anything other than they were the teenage girls in the team, right? And so they weren't catty about boys or anything. They just had a nice friendship with each other. One of the weirdest things about those JSA stories is that Courtney is like 16 in that, and Kendra is 19. They are teenage girls. Kendra dates adult men in the series, which is fine because everyone is drawn to look like they're 20 until you read it, and then it's like, this feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I understand what they're trying to do, and I understand that when you are the reincarnation of a previous love, like that makes things complex, and I get it. And the best of these stories play into that, right? And it's like, this is weird, right? You know this is weird that you are coming after me. I am 19 years old, and you are physically 22, but actually like 45. Like, this is all very strange, and I know...
kind of to an extent feels like the author trying to justify, like, and this is why it's okay for me to write that these teenage girls are dating adult men. And it's like,
It's interesting to read those books and see, like, Courtney allowed to be a teenage girl, and, like, Kendra has to be a woman. And so that's why I like those scenes where they're together, because when those scenes, that is where Kendra gets to be a teenage girl and, like, hang out on her bed with her shoes off and, like, them just chatting about whatever. And I like that. Courtney is not in the Hot Girl series now, but she is one of my favorite friendships that Kendra had in the past.
Hooray. All right. We've reached the point where I'm not allowed to go further legally.
Yes.
And I think I'm going to reset with this morning.
Have a little palate cleanser?
Have a little palate cleanse.
That is the problem as we get on there, because, like, I still feel the heat of the previous sauce, and I'm about to put an even hotter sauce on.
So, why don't you...
So this is Mr. Hot Stuff. This is his mustard sauce. We're using the mustard sauce because I'm out of the regular Mr. Hot Stuff sauce, which is immaculate.
Mr. Hot Stuff, bring me a dream.
But this is good too. This is mainly, I use this for barbecue. But it's good on chicken too.
What's your favorite snack?
Well, anything you can put hot sauce on.
Yes, indeed.
As we've talked about. I'm not really a snacker. That's not my thing. I like big elaborate meals. I don't like snacks.
Right, yes.
So I will get like a pickle because of like I need some salt in my system. And then I will move on with my life and day.
Yes.
Because I'm saving it all for my big elaborate meal.
Yes.
But I've recently discovered sriracha peas, which are like some wasabi peas, but instead of being covered in wasabi, they're covered in powdered sriracha.
Yeah.
So they still got that crunchy pea flavor, and then there's that sriracha, so it's like a little sweet, a little garlicky, little limey, everything you want. So like I saw those at the market, and I was like, "You're coming home."
Yes.
And then I promptly devoured the can.
Good.
Because they're great. So that's my favorite snack. As someone who doesn't really snack.
Bet. See, I feel like even your snack selections are like fancy diet. You're like,
it's
true. I'm like, I like Cheez-Its.
Right. And like even the pickles, right? Like my favorite pickle right now is Fishtown Pickles, which is a local pickle brinery. I guess that's probably where I got a local pickle brinery, and they do. A really delicious hot pickle and a really amazing, like very vinegary dill pickle. And like I have jars of that in the fridge at all times. One, because I'm a trans woman and I need pickles in my life.
It's a stereotype.
But the others, they are delicious.
Yes.
And it's nice to buy local. So even my pickles are fancy.
Yeah.
I don't have like a Mount Olive in there.
You're constantly indulging and it's delightful.
I mean, I like having very nice ingredients. I think what it comes down to, and because that does show in the final product.
Yeah. All right. Shall we go on to?
Yeah.
I've got a couple of sauces just kicking it on the plate, so
I'm just gonna use
those and like do little combo tricks.
So this is Akamiso, a Bravado spice company, with Ghost Reaper in it. The thing about adding Ghost Reaper to anything. Is you won't taste the other flavors. Like this has a great ingredient list, which is like rice wine vinegar, miso, tamari, sesame oil, salt, takarashi. You're not tasting that.
Yeah.
You are tasting the ghost pepper and you are tasting the rice vinegar. And those are great flavors, but like they didn't even need to bother to put all that other stuff in.
Wow.
That's marketing, I guess, because you don't taste it. But if you need something super hot to put on your Asian food, this is great because it doesn't contrast with the flavors. And none of my family likes spicy Asian food, so I need that.
Do you enjoy Secret Six? And if so, what's your favorite issue?
Oh, I love Secret Six. Like, I'm a huge Gail Simone fan. This is known. Mm-hmm. And Secret Six is my favorite of her works. It's like a lot of people love Birds of Prey, and there's a lot of reasons to love Birds of Prey, but I feel like Secret Six, which is about a bunch of supervillains doing supervillain things, and like ending up doing good only because they're not monsters, they're just villains. Like, that's the beauty of this series, is that Gail Simone is so good about putting them next to characters who are just absolutely the worst. And so that allows these characters who are also the worst, but not as bad, to then be heroes.
Yeah.
It's also got one of my favorite queer characters, Scandal Savage, who is in there, and she's a hoot and a half. You would love her. I can loan you some books if you'd like.
I love that.
But yeah, Secret Six is great. Everyone should read that. It's Gail Simone, like, with no... It feels like Gail Simone with no adult supervision. So it's a little more unhinged. My favorite single issue is the one where Catman fights Batman. It's just a beautifully well done thing, and it showcases both how Catman is not a match for Batman, but he's still worth following and still cool in that way. And also, there's a wonderful moment where Catman will not shut up about how he keeps smelling like cilantro on Batman, and Batman finally says, "I had a burrito." And because of that, it has developed a personal headcanon of mine of Batman, is that Alfred does not make Mexican food. Like, he makes all of Bruce Wayne's food. He will not, for whatever reason, make Mexican food, or he makes Mexican food poorly, and Bruce never asks him for it. So whenever you see Alfred come down with like a plate of food in a Batman comic, and Batman ignores it because he's so busy on a case, it's because he went to a taco truck a few scenes before and like loaded up, but he can't tell Alfred, I'm not eating your food, but I really want to I just need a burrito right now.
Yeah.
And I also have this, as part of that, like, all the burrito carts and taco trucks in Gotham know Batman, and visits them all the time.
That's very good.
That, I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to make that a reality. It's wild that I even can talk about it as if I can.
I mean, you're on a trajectory.
I'm on a trajectory. But, I mean, like, I have a whole list of Batman headcanons that I want to make real.
Yes.
I'm nudging the table, so I should stop. I have a whole list of those, of which Batman's love of Mexican food not made by Alfred is one of them. And we'll see if I ever get a chance to do that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, that's my favorite single issue. But all of it is great, and like the storyline where Bane decides is like, you know what? It's high time I got around to actually killing Batman, which I think is the storyline from that single issue is from.
Yeah, I should probably make it back on my schedule.
Right. It's like, well, he has a near-death experience, and he's like, you know what? I've been pussyfooting around.
I almost died back there. That totally reminds me. I was supposed to make someone else die. Mm-hmm. Batman.
Yeah. So it's a great series. It's about, like, so many broken characters trying to be better while also trying to be worse. Like, they are trying to be worse because that would make them money, but they end up being better because they have hearts and sides. There's also a great one with, like, Wonder Woman and Amazon's in it, and then there's another great storyline that crosses over with Birds of Prey. It's like, they're all good. Yeah. Like, you can't pick a bad Birds of Prey storyline. Yeah. I mean, bad Secret Six storyline. They're my favorite book from her. Nothing would make me happier than if Gail Simone just wrote Secret Six forever. She's not currently, but like...
But boy, it'd be nice.
Oh, it'd be so good. She just has a really nice way, and this is like, she's so talented in general, and no one talks about how good she is, of making characters who should be absolutely unredeemable, you still root for them. And like, that's hard. And I'm really impressed with how she does that with every single issue of Secret Six. So go get it. It's great.
Yeah.
And if enough people buy it, then maybe she'll do it again.
Maybe. Who knows?
So that's all the Twitter questions.
I have a final question as you get to the last
all right.
dab.
This is the last dab. So this is the official Hot Ones last dab Apollo sauce.
And I'm going for my new favorite of the day. It's not replacing the pineapple John, but like of the new ones I've had today, this one was my favorite.
Yeah, that one's great. Shout out again to my wife, J.R. Backwell, for seeing it in a store and knowing it was going to be great.
Yes.
All right, so I've covered this wing with this stuff, which is probably not a good idea, but I like to give you your money's worth.
Mm-hmm. There have been, to say the absolute least of it, and to put it lightly, a lot of pitches against being transgender lately. I want to spend some time with you going hard opposite.
All right.
Why should everyone watching become transgender if they haven't already? But the serious version of this question is, what is some trans joy in your life right now and in general?
Getting a little choked up just thinking about all this stuff. Trans joy. So, to answer the funny part first, like, being trans is amazing. Here's I joke often that I have been every letter of the homo rainbow almost.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have identified as gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, and queer at some point in my life. And that was all great. And it was a great experience. So I recommend everyone do that.
Sure, yeah.
But you can't do that unless you trans at some point, you know, have that, because you got to go from one to the other. Being trans is wonderful because if you want to do it, if you're curious about it,
right,
it is something you should probably do because it is not something that anyone enters in lightly.
Yes.
And it's a very conscious decision because we live in a society where the deck is stacked against you and makes it more difficult. So if you're going to do it, it must really be important. And it often is. It is life-changing for so many people, myself included.
Same.
And like, I am a better person now because I transitioned. I am more patient. I am a better writer because I transitioned. I'm a better parent because I transitioned. I'm a better partner because I transitioned. Like, all this stuff. Like, I didn't realize how much mental energy I was storing and using to not be trans. Like, right. It was like every day was a battle. And like, I had to like focus on that at all times. And like, now that I'm not having that problem, not focusing on that, I'm still free to be me and to do that. So being trans is wonderful. The biggest reason, obviously, is boobs, right? Because if you're a trans woman, you get boobs. Great. If you are a trans masc person, you get rid of the boobs. Yeah. Also great. Like, it's
or you keep the boobs and you have a blast with them.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many great boob variations.
Yeah.
And like, that's the beauty of trans, is like, it embraces them all.
Yeah.
So as far as trans joy goes, I will be honest with you. If you had told me when I started my transition that not only would it be wonderful, but also that I would publish a book almost explicitly about being trans with DC Comics of all people, and then later take that trans character and put her into a regular superhero floppy, because Galaxy is going to be a supporting character in Hawkgirl, I would not have believed you in a second. That would seem like crazy talk.
Yeah.
That would seem impossible. And I think it probably was when I started my transition. But like, things have moved very fast in some ways. And that's great. Like, and like, I haven't talked about this a whole lot because it all happened very recently and things have been crazy. But like, I'm going to the GLAAD Awards this week.
No way!
Yeah. I'm hopping on a plane to LA on Wednesday.
Wow.
Because Galaxy the Pre-Star is up for a GLAAD Award.
Oh,
for outstanding graphic novel. So I'm going, hopefully win, but like, it doesn't really matter because it's just, I'm going to go. And because DC/Warner Brothers got me a ticket. So it's like, well, now I gotta go.
Yeah.
So that's just a neat thing. I'm like, that book, Galaxy, has helped so many people. And it's really been humbling to hear people's stories and like the way that it touched them and affected them. And it's just, I'm really glad that it was able to be published and able to exist in the world, which I would not have thought it would have been. And so that's whenever I need a little dose of trans joy, I think about just all the people who come to me and just like really needed Galaxy, the prettiest star in their life. And like, I'm not saying it's the only book to talk about the trans experience. Obviously, it's not.
Right.
But like, there's not many, honestly.
Yeah.
And so the fact that we have this one more to add to that pile is great. Yeah. And it just, I feel glad that it exists in the world and that so many people enjoy it, and that I get to keep writing the character in like regular superhero stories, which I did not expect even when writing the graphic novel. I thought, well, this will be a nice done in one. Thanks, guys.
We weren't done with you yet.
For giving me an opportunity to be my weird gay trans self in print. And I'm sure this won't happen again. But I had fun. And it keeps happening. So that's great. So that's my bit of trans joy in there. It's just like the place I am in now. That I would never... It's where I've always wanted to be. Like, I've always wanted to work in comics since I was my daughter's age. She's about to be 6. And like, I have sketchbooks from my 6-year-old self of my little cartoons with little word balloons and little poorly drawn animals and things. And like, it's always what I wanted to do. Like, always. And like, I've done other stuff, some of it with you.
Yeah.
And like, but it's always been in the background, like this was the dream, and now I've achieved it. And I achieved it specifically because I transitioned and unlocked the parts of me that was holding me back.
Yeah.
And like I'm definitely a better writer than I used to be. And a lot of that is because I'm no longer trying to tell someone else's stories. I'm trying to tell my stories now. And that's been magnificent. Yeah. Hopefully I'll get to keep doing it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I definitely feel that myself being like a better actor and like theater artist as a result of my transition, in that like when I remember in college, like I would get the note all the time, like, you're not being vulnerable enough, and I'm like, what does that mean in this context? I don't understand. But like, to like, there's a level of emotional honesty and like an amount of yourself that you bring into every role, and it was basically impossible for me to do that because I was not being emotionally honest with myself because I didn't have the tools to be.
Right.
And I didn't have a myself to bring. So like, now that I am like more cognizant of who it is that I am and embrace that, I am able to have like a level of like emotional honesty with myself and with others, and like bring that to my work and just like to my personal life. Like, I am a better partner, a better friend, a better sibling and child, I think. And also, I'm just hotter.
That's true.
I got hotter.
Like, I didn't know you pre-transition, but I knew you, like, right after you kind of, like, started claiming it for reals.
Yes.
And, like, publicly at the very least.
Yes.
And then, like, to watch you blossom over this time has been just wonderful.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was like, sure, I was a hot girl, but, oh boy, I am a very hot gonzo whatever.
Indeed you are.
Yay! So go be trans.
If you're
just do it. Just be trans. It's that simple.
If you're thinking about it, you might want to go ahead.
Thinking about maybe.
So yeah.
Could be fun.
Or you can just read my books that have trans people in it. That's fine too.
Yeah.
Because they all will.
Well,
and we didn't get any DC Books of Pride questions, which is too bad. That's the other book I wrote that's coming out later this year, and like, which is about all the DC queer and trans characters, and like, researching that book really radicalized me as far as like, I need to make sure that these characters are in the forefront because so often they are pushed to the background.
Right.
And like, their stories, you piece them together from like little bits of other people's stories, and I was like, if I'm doing anything in this industry, it's making sure that these kind of characters aren't lost. Galaxy's not the lead of Hawk Girl. I want to make that very clear. It's not the Galaxy story with Hawk Girl.
Yeah.
It is the Hawk Girl story with Galaxy, but she is still there in a real way. And her story continues. If you are a fan of Galaxy the Pretty Star, it'll be fun for you to watch her as a 20-year-old being a superhero, just as it's fun for me to write that, I hope.
Yeah.
And that's everything. Thank you, everyone who's here. And it was really great to see you. And and I guess we'll do this again. Another 1,000 Twitter followers if Twitter doesn't explode before then.
Yes, always the gamble.
Right.
If not,
I'm
we'll
not
have to
moving
find
this
some other reason.
Well, yeah, we'll just hang out.
We'll just like hang out and be friends.
I have like, with the slow destruction of Twitter, I've been like, maybe I don't need social media. Maybe it's bad for me.
Yeah.
So like, I know a lot of people are hopping on to other platforms, but I'm like, if this goes, I'm not even, like, I got Instagram, and I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll start doing it on Instagram.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Once again, thank you, everybody. And like, this has been Jadzia Hot Ones from Stealth 3.
Woo!
Destroy all monsters.
Yes. Ow, I fully hit my arm on the chair.